What is going on, Degen Nation? Kenny Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast this week for the John Deere Classic. As usual, I am here with everybody's favorite South African, South African, Byron Lindeque. Byron, what is up? You're not South American.
Hola, Kenny. Nice to be in the country with you today. Thank you.
Way too pale to be South American. I'm sorry.
Way too pale and far too talentless with a soccer ball at my feet. But happy to be here, regardless of which continent I am from, Kenny. I appreciate being on the show with you again. It's my fifth major. I'll be at the John Deere this week. Looking forward to being there all 4 days. So if I'm out there, I will be posting on X what I look like. You can find me and I'll buy you a beer.
All right. Sounds good. Of course, our podcast is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Mayo. Get yourself a deposit match up to $250. All right, let's talk about this past week. Not great for me. Not great. My worst week of the year by a lot. I lost like over $800. I don't think I've come close to losing that much money in a single week this year. I basically saw what happened in round one. Luckily, I did not do any round 2 or 3 or 4 underdog plays, or that loss might have been a lot more. So I saw what happened on day one, and I was out. I was like, this is not good. And I just did not pay attention for the rest of the week. I caught a little bit of the back nine on Sunday. XJ sort of blew it, just sort of like Rory did here recently. I know it hurt Byron a lot since he had XJ in his betting card. Luckily, he got the each way, right? Right, Byron? You got the each way at least. I know you were pissed off, but at least you got something back. My ass, the only thing I got back this week was $32 of my $398 that I put in on DraftKings. So that is what I got back this week from my $870 worth of bets and DFS plays and underdog stuff. So not great. Not great. Actually, misses that putt. Cam Davis comes out of nowhere, basically not even a top 30 in his last 3 or 4 months. But he comes to a place he loves where he has rounds in the 60s every time he plays this damn course, and he gets that W. So if you had that Cam Davis ticket out there, good on you. There was a bunch of other stuff. What'd you think about the event? We'll go over Cam Young and other things as well.
I thought the leaderboard was pretty stacked considering Alex Noren, Keith Mitchell, and Steven Yeager. Taylor Pendrith as well, basically not showing up, but the first 3 all missed the cuts. Had top 20s on all of them. Those are the favorites for the week. Not a single one of them sniffed the freaking cut. Taylor Pendrith didn't decide to play any golf. And then the leaderboard got fun. I think Cameron Young was interesting. It was always, that was more likely to end in disaster than anything else this week, even the Akshay putts.
Definitely ended in a disaster.
Yeah.
I don't really understand what he was thinking breaking his best club on 14 when he had a par 5 left. And he still hit that par 5 and 2 with 2 3-woods and he 3-putted. Again. That guy, something's up mentally with him. He just can't get it done at the end. I mean, it's really ragging on him. I do think that once he does get a win, we could see knocked off a bunch, but he has to get that first one first.
And the scar tissue is just mounting. Yeah, same wound every time.
God, it's been a struggle for him. What else did you notice?
I noticed that Minwoo Lee, also, these boys that do well on the DP World Tour, they take a hot minute to get their stuff figured out on the PGA, because as good as he's been, as many tournaments he's won on the DP, when he shows up to these PGA events, he's got the sporadic nature of his game that just shoots up the leaderboard, but then when it matters, I think he had a double on a par 5, then he bogeyed 18. That's the stuff you don't see when he's winning those tournaments elsewhere. So I think there's something about it where these guys really show up. I, Kenny, am a big fan of the amateurs. If you put 5 or 6 amateurs in this field every single time, I love it. It's way better. Watching Luke Clatton try and contend for a win is way more interesting to me than watching Webb Simpson have 1 spike round and finish 42nd again. That's not growing the game. We're speaking about growing the game.
Some of these youngsters are going to be good.
Yes.
I got one on my card. I got one on my card this week, Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
I mean, that guy, I mean, I think he could be really good, right?
He's a baller, dude.
Low amateur at the Masters, low amateur at the U.S. Open or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then coming in top 25, top 30 every event he plays. Dude could be a stud.
Dude. And he's one of the many. He's not the guy. Maybe there's another one better. We need more of these dudes with such a talentless PGA pool right now, with all these other guys elsewhere. We need the young blokes coming in. Blood, Bucks, whatever you want to call it. No more Webb Simpson getting sponsors invites. No more old asses in the seats. Get the new guys who are hungry. Get them in there. Like, they need to be the sponsors invites.
Yeah, I mean, one of the youngsters had to withdraw, Mr. Zalatoris. It's not looking good for him, as I think he said he heard a pop either in his back or his hip or something like that. I mean, back hip type shit, I mean, should happen when you're older, right? Unless your name is, Will Zalatoris or Byron Lindeque or Kenny Kim, right? I mean, either way. I mean, go ahead. Tell them about. We'll go in different orders. Say fuck it. I mean, how many people are going to watch a fucking John Deere show? Tell them about your back injury this week. Just some segue.
I just decided, Kenny, after stop being fat, I'm like, you know what? I reached out to our guy Mike, Fit for Golf, who I think I've now pissed off by just trying to float out a sponsorship there. But hey, it is what it is. Also, his workouts got my back broken anyway. So I'm just kidding. But I decided to do some sprints on my bicycles because I know I'm fat. I'm not going to go sprinting on my knees and hurt my back. No, I decided to do some sprints on my bike, get the heart rate like all the way up, all the way down, kind of rest for 60 seconds, up, down. So I do that, go eat my nice Mexican out there that I found, which I'm only going to eat there if I bike there and back. Everything was fine. Thursday, completely fine. And Friday morning, I wake up and I'm like, oh, boys, I'm life alert stuck right now. Like, if I have to make any place in any next 5 minutes, I'm done because I'm not making it to work. My back, like on the hinge point, right where your coccyx is, completely just brutal, like couldn't move. I was literally walking at a 90-degree angle because that's like the only area that was comfortable because that's how I was on my bike. Like when it happened, I was hunched forward like that. So I walk into these doctor's offices and I'm just like, I see an old guy on a Zimmer frame, like a push thingy, and he's walking more upright than I am. And I'm like, God damn, times are tough, but the back's still a bit niggly right now. We'll figure it out when we go forward. I can get on the bicycle. I can pedal. So I'm going to be doing a bit of that going forward. But tough times for your 32-year-old boy.
I'm allowed to use that word since I'm not South African. I think South Africans can get a niggly. Like I don't understand. I mean, it just seems like an inappropriate word for anyone to say except Black people and South Africans.
I will stop saying it, right? But I'm going to say it with you now.
You're South African. You can say it because obviously it's a slang in South Africa. It's something that you say because I've heard you say it multiple times. But every time you say it, I'm like, damn. I'm like, what did he just say? But anyways.
Causing slight but persistent discomfort or anxiety. Niggly. Niggly.
Super racist. No, I'm kidding. All right. So, like, I've had back problems too. And this is going back to Will, right? Like, I've had back problems since I was 17. When I was 17, I was a starter on my high school football team, and we were playing a big game. And that day, like, I took a shower, and I, like, bent over to pick up the fucking soap or some shit like that. And, like, all of a sudden, this massive stabbing pain in my back. I don't have time to go to the doctor. I go to school because I figure I have to go to school to play the game. And, of course, the coach is like, no, you don't have to be here. Anyways, so I go to the trainer, and the trainer gives me, like, these electrical probe things to, like, stimulate my back muscles. Then I go home, and I just rest during the day, and I come back for the game. Play the game. I was a lineman. The only comfortable position I was in was a 3-point stance. And then, they put some injections in me. And by the time I played the game, I felt fine. But then after the game, I couldn't walk for 4 days. I went to the doctor. He told me it was my sciatic nerve. It was a problem. Basically, the only fix for it is at some point in your life, you might need surgery. Really, there is no fix other than, stretching and stuff like that. And so surgery was the only option. And the doctor was like, don't have back surgery till 40 or 50 because back surgeries normally fail. That's what my doctor told me. And this was 1997. So maybe technology has gotten better since then. But the doctor said that, like, don't have back surgery because your back will continually fail even afterwards, or more than likely, like the odds are. And that's basically what we're seeing with Will Zalatoris, who had the back surgery and has had some bumps in the road coming out. And I don't necessarily think that this is something that he can get away from. He's already had the surgery. He's 24 years old. The only thing that will continue helping, like what the doctor told me back then, was you'll probably have surgery once, then you'll probably have surgery again 10 years later, and then you'll probably have to have surgery again like inside another 10 years after that. Because the thing about the back is it's just, I guess in 97, I don't know, like, again, this is a long time ago. Hopefully the technology has gotten better, but back then they didn't really have like a true fix for these problems. And this is really worrisome for Will, because the talent that he has, and as good as he was, he has that, really slender frame, really violent type of stroke, at least prior to the injury. And since his surgery, you've noticed his driving distance has gone down. He has not been as aggressive with his swing, and it's still a problem. This is not good for him. And I will say that this is something that's very worrisome, and I hope he can fix it and get it better. But when it comes to backs and having problems with your back that young, it's going to be a problem for him for the rest of his life. It's been a problem for me for the rest of my life. Actually, it's gotten better in the last decade or so. I don't know why. But in the last decade, maybe because I was not exercising as much in the last decade. I wasn't playing sports. I wasn't playing tennis. I wasn't playing basketball as much as I did in my 20s and, early to mid 30s. But I don't know. I hope he gets better. But that's a shame for him, because I don't have a good outlook on his future personally, for me, just based on my experience with what happens with your back. So we'll see how it goes. Other things, I mean, it was a fine event. Cam Davis, he won. Good for him. I lost a whole shit ton of money. I will say that this was the second week since the Players' Championship where I did not hit a winner or each win. So something like 2 of the last 16, 18 events, I have not hit. So I guess the heater's over, but again, you try and get back on another heater. And I learned some things from my mistakes last week, where I'm trying to focus more on this week, especially when it comes to my cash lineup. So we'll see how that goes. Anything else you want to talk about before we move on?
No, not really.
All right.
Let's move on.
Before we move on, let's go ahead. I'm probably doing this out of order, but I don't really give a fuck right now, because once again, it's the John Deere Classic. Let's have a word from our sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. I personally like the Pick'em games. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's game for a chance to win big. Can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a Pick'em entry. Can also make rivals picks, which pits 2 players against each other. Now, the reason I like the Pick'em games is because of these things called scorchers. There's these little chili peppers next to the golfers' names, and if you click on that, it adds to your multiplier, so you can win even more money. Sign up today with promo code Mayo and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant Pick'em special. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, so before we go on to our underdog segment of the day, I do want to prop up one of my boys' new website, Mike Miller. You guys might know him as Smart Golf Bets on X, basically the OG, triple OG of golf betting, at least on X. I've been following him for basically over a decade. His sheets have always been helpful. Now he has updated his site. It's a lot cooler, a lot more info, a lot more easy to use. Go to smartgolfinfo.com. Go ahead. It's like $1 and change a week, right? Go ahead, join his site. It's perfect for like course history, for the course preview. It got bookmakers odds. It's got all that stuff. So make sure you go check out Mike Miller's page, smartgolfinfo.com. Go ahead and sign up. $1 something a week. He is the godfather of golf gambling on X. Really cool guy. Has some crazy stories from his days as a premier gambler in certain countries. So he's been kicked out of countries before. So any guy that's been kicked out of a country and can never go back to that country ever again, he's okay in my book. So go over and check him out. All right. So we're going to do our Underdog segment again. Underdog they seem to be taking a little bit more time lately. And you know what? It just came up. But we were not ready for it. So maybe we need to start the podcast at like 6, which I don't want to do. But if we have to have the Underdog segment, that might be something that we have to change there, Byron and Mike. Just giving you a heads up, trying to give our sponsors some love. So no Underdog bet on the show, but I will have it on X for, follow me on X at KendoVT. I'll have it on there later this week. But Byron does have some stuff that you could look for on the Underdog stuff for this week. Go ahead, Byron.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm looking now. It looks like the majority of the strokes are 68s, and the stroke average for what I'm seeing is about 69. So that's, you're going to have to find, they've got the lines pretty solid right now. I'd say the best golfers are around 68. So trying to find guys that potentially, Denny McCarthy 67.5, Aaron Rice 67.5. Those on average, I'd probably lean higher than those, but it's also around one. That can change. So just check out your guys that you're looking for from a bogey perspective. The average bogeys major about 2.3. So I'm seeing bogeys or worse at 2s right now. So I think I'd lean under the 2s there or lower, because I think 2.2, 2.3 is a solid number. Those include the guys that suck, so the better golfers will likely have less than 2. And then if you're looking for birdies, it's about 4.2, 4.3 birdies per round on average here. So once those show up, maybe the unders on 5 birdies, if they show up there, is the way to go. So just sharing you guys what's happened historically. Obviously, it's tailored to each specific golfer. Kenny and I will put out our picks there on next. I'll give a nice little reason why I like my guys. So, yeah.
So one thing that did happen last week is we had our first 3-man with the guy beating both of us. So congratulations, Hot Soup 14. You will be in our Tournament of Champions at the Sony Open for prizes. We'll figure out the prizes and all that stuff. We have some time, but he is in. So make sure you go to our YouTube comment page, comment on who you think will win, and also make the comment on what your DK handle is. If you're the first one to pick the winner, I will pick you to join us in a 3-man. Our winner last week was, his YouTube name is at Joey Pan, KIW 607. He picked Cam Davis, the only person to pick Cam Davis out of the 60 plus comments that we got. His DK handle, JPan8585. You will be joining us in a 3-man this week. You win that, you will be in our Tournament of Champions. So let's move on to our sponsorless betting segment for this week. I will go over my bets that I have. I have completed my card for this week, and I will go ahead and start with Sungjae Im at 22-1. I got with a 3 places each way. I'm using your little 3-place thing that they have on Bet365. The guy's been playing well, a bunch of top 10s here recently. He's one of the cream of the crop when it comes to this field, especially since Spieth sucks and Cantlay is gone. Probably good that Cantlay withdrew for the people of Silvis, Illinois, just so there won't be any unsolved murders during the week, because that man does look like a serial killer. I've been saying that for years. The new Dexter prequel is coming out, and I could see Cantlay as the star of that show. All they would need is that Eminem song to be the intro. You don't want to fuck with Cantlay, because Cantlay will fucking kill you, and just go with that, right? And just make that the fucking, intro to the show, because that man loves to lick his lips and murder people. That's just what I see when it comes to Cantlay. So for the people of Silverstone, Illinois, just be glad that he is not playing this week. But Sung Jae, 22-1. I'm going JT Poston. I played a hole with JT Poston before. He's like 5'7", 140 pounds, and can hit his pitching wedge 150 yards. It's pretty incredible. His iron game, he loves this course. And again, I'll go over what I'm doing in cash this week is I'm going with guys who've played well on this course with good history and who never miss a cut. Basically, that's what I'm going because I expect carnage like last week as well. Yeah. So I'm going a lot more conservative, and Poston is going to be one of my conservative cornerstones, and we'll go over that here or more. I like Nick Dunn a lot. Like, I think he could be a stud. Yeah. One is an amateur. Was in contention last week, has had a couple of good finishes here recently, 30-1, 8 places. Poston was 28-1 with 8 places. So I like those guys. Then I'm going to go a little bit higher. Andrew Novak, 66-1 with 8 places. Again, another cash game cornerstone. He's played decent here in the past, but his form, he's makes a lot of cuts. I just have a feeling, it's sort of like a gut feeling for me on this one with Novak, 66-1. Neil Shipley, like I talked about earlier, I think this guy is going to be a stud. Lots of young guys on this card, as you can see, even though old men can win this event pretty fucking easily. Neil Shipley, 80-1, 8 places. Then I'm going to go with David Skins. His ball striking has been really incredible here recently. 100-1, 8 places. Troy Merritt, another birdie fest, 140-1, 8 places. I also got Joel Dahman, 100-1, 8 places with the wedge, easy scoring conditions. I do like him. Who do you like this week?
I don't like Joel, but I like the each ways there for him. Kenny, he gets so self-deprecating in the big moments, and just kind of doesn't do his thing. But I've got a few overlaps there with you. I've got Poston for sure with you. And then at 35, then I got Sepp Straka. Diet Coke Ironman, baby. He's making his return back to...
This is 35-1. Where'd you get 35?
No, that's Poston. That's Poston.
Okay.
And also, once again, after we've had a big WD, after the top guy on the odds board has left, now we've got all these numbers we're trying to give people that are ass. So, but, I think there's 18-1s on Sepp still out there. I got a 20. Seamus Powell at 60. Davis Thompson at 30. And Adam Schenk at 66. So Davis Thompson is one of these guys that I haven't been that into. Top 10 at the US Open, and then another solid finish, last week. I think he's really starting to trend.
What I like to see about guys like that is he was really good at the US Open, which is, a very tough course, and he was really good at a birdie fest. That to me screams that the guy overall game is playing well. So I do like Davis Thompson a lot. He actually saved me in one and done. I had him in the Slider Cup League as my American pick. My international pick was Bobby Mack. So I hate his fucking bitch ass even more now. Even more now. I hate him even more. Luckily, Thompson saved me, so I didn't lose too much. Still up over 100 points. And then in that league, it doesn't go by money. It goes by finishing positions. So you want to be the lowest number. And I'm still up by 100. So we'll see how that goes. I'm still in the top 500 for Mayo. I had Maverick McNeely, not great. So we'll see. Any other bets for you this week, my friend?
Yes. So as always, I'll have all my placement bets, which are the spine, the core, the foundation of my bankroll. Typically do a lot better there than I do the outrights. But here's a little top 40 parlay for you guys. 3 guys. Zach, TPC Deere Run Johnson for a top 40 at plus 140. Lucas Glover as 1 year before at minus 105. And then Seamus Power plus 100. So we've got 3 guys, Zach Johnson, Lucas Glover, Seamus Power, top 40 3-leg parlay pays out 8-1, 837. Here's the magic number there. So we'll see what goes on in that department. Kenny smashing the edible in the background here is going to make us take the show even longer now. So I'm going to just draw this sucker out so we can have some more fun edits at the end.
So he's doing that.
Full edible too. It wasn't even.
Yeah, it was a big one. I ate it too. I was like, I'm going 200 grams today. It's a short week, right? So I went.
Not a short show. We're gonna keep this thing going.
Well, here's the thing. Like, the guy's talking shit about this because last week I usually eat my edible about halfway during the show because I'm a type of guy that needs some type of vice after work. Okay, that's just the way I am. It used to be alcohol. It used to be pot. Then it used to be some harder shit, and then it used to be alcohol. And I've been trying to drink less. I've become more of a pothead in the last 2 years. But I know it's not great, but I'm the type of guy that just needs a vice. I can't be sober, which is horrible, right? I mean, it's horrible, but I know who I am, and that's who I am, and I can control the drug use at least pretty well.
Kenny, there's so much better things, or worse things off for you than that. I say just keep going at what you're doing. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I know. See, but here's the thing. So I usually eat the edible about midway through the podcast, which I think is going to be midway. So it hits when the podcast is done, because I don't want to waste any time, getting my buzz on, right? When I'm done with my work, right? And so last week, the pod ended up a little bit longer than expected, and we had to do some editing afterwards. I had to do a couple of extra shoots and stuff that we forgot, and we had to edit. And I couldn't do it. I had to do a promo for the BetterHelp, and I had to do something else. And literally, I was just fucking up every single take over and over and over and over again because I was high as a fucking kite by the time we had to do that, right? I mean, I forgot I hadn't eaten anything that day. Edible kicked way quicker than I thought it would again. So I had to have Byron, just fucking do this for me. So if you listened last week and Byron doing all the intros and stuff like that to certain segments instead of me, that was the reason. And so that's why these guys are giving me shit right now. So we'll see. I don't think this pod is going to go that long, but I did eat more than I usually do. I will say that right now. All right. Hey, you know what? Is anyone really fucking working this week, at least in America? I don't know how it is in Canada. And for Canadians out there, happy Canada Day. Big things for your soccer team. Yeah. Also, they made it to the group stage. Also, England for the UK crowd. What a game.
What a game.
Right? I mean, a bicycle kick in the fifth minute of stoppage time to tie the game to give you a chance is sick. I can't imagine. I saw some videos of people celebrating. I saw this one. It was in this small little pub with 15, 20 English people. And the amount of celebration, jumping on pool tables, rolling around on the floor, hugs and kisses. I mean, I can't imagine, in America, soccer's not that big of a deal. You don't get that international type of joy. I guess I'm trying to think of something that's comparable to the type of joy that the English would see that Americans would normally see. Maybe it would be your football team,
your Commanders. Yeah, that's basically it.
If the Commanders would win a Super Bowl, I would break down and cry like a little baby. I did that when the Washington Capitals. So when the Caps won the Stanley Cup in 2018, Game 5, it was the first game that we can clinch, I think, and I watched it from home. Because all my friends, there was a watch party in D.C., which I was invited to. It was 50,000 people on the streets of D.C. in front of the MCI Center watching that game. I wasn't home alone because I knew that if we had won this game, I would look like a complete fucking pussy idiot. Like the amount of I haven't cried like that, I guess, since I was a child, right? I mean, I don't even know. It has to have been since I was bawling, tears, just flowing down. I'd never been that happy before in my life, which is pretty fucking sad when you think about it. But anyways, I digress. And now I think the edible's already hitting because I'm just rambling on. I totally forgot what the fuck the whole point of this conversation was. That could just be lack of brain cells because of all the stuff I've done in the past. But yeah, what was the point of this? What the fuck was I talking about? No clue? Everyone's giving me no clue. So you know what? So we'll just move on. Let's just go ahead and talk about this week's tournament. The PGA Tour heads to Silvis, Illinois for the John Deere Classic for TPC Deere Run. The tournament's been played here since 2000. It used to be a real shitty field, even shittier than this one. And then they brought that jet that you fly over to the Open because this was the week before the Open Championship for a while. And so like a lot more like good golfers would come and play. And you sort of see that in like the results. Like I think 7 of the last 14 winners have been inside the top 50 in the world, at this event. Now, prior to that, I don't think there was a single, and there might have been like one or two, right? It might have been like Stricker or like Zach Johnson. And I even think they won those like later in like the 2010s and stuff like that. And so like early in this event, it was just horrible. Then they brought that plane, got better. Now it's horrible again, basically, because, it's 2 weeks before the Open Championship. There's no plane to go over there. It's not a signature event, and you're getting a shitty ass field. So we'll see how it goes when it comes to that top 50 type of deal. I think for one thing, in an event like this, what you can see, I mean, you could have gotten Cam Davis, I think on Saturday or Sunday, even like really good, like 50s, 40s, 30s, something like that, right? I think when it comes to betting, I think you can save a good portion of your betting bankroll for live bets. I think when we find a ton of value live without the big dogs in the field, right? When golfers like Scheffler, Rory, Rahm, any of these top guys, X, are down 4 to 6 strokes on Friday, they're going to be shorter than 20-1, right? There really is no one in this field where that's going to be a possibility, right? So, if you got a guy on Friday who's like 3, 4, 5, 6 strokes back, who's, not putting well, but iron game has been good or something like that, make those bets for this week because you just never know with this type of field. And I think live betting is definitely more on when it comes down to this. Now, TPC Deere Run is a 7,300 yard-ish par 71 with 4 par 3s and 3 par 5s, which should be reachable by most golfers in the field in 2. The par 4 14th hole is short and it could be drivable by some in the right conditions. Speaking of driver, I'm going to go ahead and stop right here because we didn't really talk about this. Cam Davis breaking his fucking driver on 14. We did glance over this.
Cam Young,
yeah. Like how stupid can you fucking be? Like, you're 1 or 2 strokes behind the leader, right? Your driver is your best club. And to snap your driver in half, wow, well, no, he didn't even snap it in half. He just pushed it down on the ground and you heard it crack. But to do that, that's just like really fucking stupid. Like, I don't even understand what he could possibly be thinking at that point in time when he's still in contention. He was only a stroke or 2 back when that happened.
The straw that broke the camel shaft, I guess. That snap hook was just into the bushes, and it's just
like, how does that guy suck at par 5 so bad when he drives it like that? I don't understand. It's got to be in his head.
Green. It's around the green.
He's fucked up in the head. And the thing is, a lot of people, again, and when you saw the interview with Cam Davis, he talks about like he was going through some bad shit. Like, people go through some bad golf. I think like bad mental health is like a regular thing in golf. And I think it's just because, you're out there on your own.
Stressful, dude.
Right? And you're out there on your own. You don't have a support group. You don't have a team. Like, if you're single and you don't have a support group, you don't have a family, and you go out there, like, who do you turn to? Right? If Cam Davis is talking about a hypnotherapist, right? And I'm like, 5, 6 years ago, I'd be like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Now I'm like, shit, go ahead. Like, whatever the fuck you golfers could do to fucking help. Hypnotherapy, I don't give a fuck. Just, these guys are struggling out there mentally, and I can see, you can see it in a lot of these golfers. But kudos to Cam Davis coming out and talking about that. And we saw with Wyndham Clark, and then of course what happened to Grayson. It's definitely a big thing in golf, and I think these golfers need to get as much help as possible, because a lot of the times the mental aspect of this game is much more difficult than any type of physical aspect there is. And these guys, a lot of these guys, especially nowadays, and I think it's always been like this, but in the past, you show mental weakness, you're called a fucking weakling or a pussy or or not strong enough mentally, and those days are over, right? I mean, get the help you can fucking get. BetterHelp.com. Go. You know what I'm saying? If you need it, do it. And it's good to see these guys are getting that help, and that stigma it is sort of, getting away. I think a lot of it, honestly, had to do with The Sopranos. I'll be straight up honest. Like in the early 2000s, late 90s, it was still faux pas to go. You didn't tell people you went and saw a psychiatrist, right? It was sort of hidden. And I've been rewatching The Sopranos right now, and I was thinking, I was like, man, this was one of the most popular shows on TV, and pretty soon after that, psychology, going to psychiatry, even if you're a big, strong, tough guy like fucking Tony Soprano, was being more and more accepted. And so, good for that show. Good for the people trying to get that mental health right. Hopefully, if you have any issues out there listening, go get help. It's no problem. There's people out there that will help you. Shit, even start with your friends or family. If that doesn't work, move on to somebody professional. Because it's a good thing to be able to do. I do have to say. Any comments about this before we go? Since I interrupted my own course history for this.
That's all good. I think that's very important, Kenny. They've always called it a game of 6 inches, right? And it's not 6 inches to do this way or that way on the fairway. It's a 6 inches upstairs, and that's where the best. Like Scotty's got it, man. When he's in the mix, he's under control, laughing, got his stuff together. Cam Young looks like he's about to go.
Scotty's got that home life, which is I think Meredith is great for him, yes. and he even says that golf isn't like the most important thing in the world. Because he has that family that so they can hold on to and stuff. But there's a lot of golfers out there that don't have that, or who have families they don't fuck with. That's not rare, right? Right? Luke Glover. There's guys like that. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I think it's just his mentality. It's all upside down, and it's going to have to change in order for him to do.
I think so too. All right, so let's keep going. So off the tee, golfers will see wide tree-lined fairways with large fairway bunkers guarding landing zones. The rough is 4 inches and fairly penal, but doesn't come into play that often, as over 70% of all tee shots land on the fairway. The fairways usually play firm with a good amount of roll, but rainy, soft conditions could change that. On approach shots, golfers are going to see large greens that are guarded by bunkers and collection areas. These greens are very easy to hit, as over 70% of approach shots land on the putting surface. Good wedge play on the putting. Good wedge play is going to be a must this week, as over 40% of all approaches come from 150 yards or less. That doesn't sound like too big of a number when you take into consideration that there are 3 par 5s and all par 4s all par 3s are over 150 yards. That leaves golfers with wedge in their hand on 7 to 8 of the 11 par 4s. The greens are bent grass, have a bit of undulation and slope, and are somewhat slow with a stick meter rating of around 11 to 11.5. Byron, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
Jenny, I think you're spot on. Got to be able to go low. I think we're going to see the 20s at TPC Deere Run for sure. Rocket kind of kept the boys in check there for a little bit, but got to make your birdies. I think having that good wedge game is very important. Your club down game. There's a lot of shots here you can hit with 3 iron. The big boys that can take care of that for sure. Played this course quite often. We played it in conference when I was in in college. And I'm just so jealous of these guys getting a chance to play in like 90-degree weather. I played 36 holes and it was 32 degrees all day. I was on the 10th hole trying to aim and there was sleet hitting me in the eyes. So I don't know how some of the guys that won that tournament shot in the 60s, but they did. I was just proud to shoot like a 79 that day. But this golf course it's fun and it's easy for these good guys. So I think you just got to be able to do what you need to do well at this golf course. So like you mentioned, it's just stick to those things.
I've played in snow before. The reason why I played in snow was, I guess it was 30 years ago. Over 30 years ago, Congressional Country Club, where Rory won the U.S. Open. It's right by my house. I've been to a bunch of weddings there, stuff like that. But Christmas Day, back in the day, they would let non-members come out and play, just to play. And it was like you had to sign up or something like that. And, you can get on the course and you get a tee time without having a member with you. So my dad and my 2 uncles, we went out there to play on Christmas Day. It was like 29 degrees. It was like flurry, and we were able to play, and we played Congressional. I don't remember shit. I was probably 12 years old. But I get to say, I guess I played Congressional one time. All right. So let's move to these tiers for this week. We have this 10K range. We have Sung Jizzle, My Nizzle, all the way up to, actually, Aaron Rye's 10,000. So we're going Aaron Rye up to Patrick. This is the racist ass show today, isn't it? My bad, people. I apologize to the 6 black people that listen. Now, we'll go Aaron Rye to Patrick Cantlay. Where are you going with that this week?
I love your guy, Kenny.
Sorry.
I want to say Sung Jizzle, but I'm just too scared what comes out of my mouth. So Sung J.M. Definitely at 10-3 is one person I'll be looking at. I think I love the ability to just go bonkers with the birdies here. And then Sepp, my guy. I feel like betting him outright. I feel like I've got to go to him at 10-4. He's obviously going to be one of the highest owned options. I mean, now that Cantlay's out, the range.
Nobody's playing Spieth, right?
No one's playing Spieth.
Spieth could be the first highest price golfer in history of DFS to be single-digit owned.
That's a good question. I doubt it because this field is so weak, and he has 1 year before. People might convince themselves, but it'll be close. I think you're right. I think it'll be very close.
If he's single-digit owned, I'm probably gonna play him. Because it's game theory wise. I mean, like, maybe even not. I don't even know if game theory is worth it with fucking Spieth.
It's got to be
point in time.
Low over.
Because here's the thing,
5%.
like, he's 1 year twice. He's played well, but he hasn't played in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's injured.
I don't know.
Technically, we think he's injured with the wrist injury. Like, the reason he's playing here is to try and get FedEx Cup points, which he's not been able to accumulate. I don't know what they're doing, putting him over here at 10-5. I mean, how he's the most expensive guy. And they fixed the settings to have the 6K range now stop at $6,000. We got we had Canty at 11,000 again, and it was going to be a 6K range. What they did last week, I think, was a mistake. Legit.
I think they fucked up, you think? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I'm playing Sung Jae. I'll look at Rye because, I mean, the man has been fucking tee to green off the wall. He finally had a good putting week last week. Can he do 2 weeks in a row? Maybe. Try to ride that Mo. We'll see, but I'm definitely playing Sung Jae. There's no doubt. I bet Sung Jae. I think the way he's on that upturn, both the Koreans, are on that upturn. Tom and Sung Jae, and I'm hopeful that they have good end of the years. I think Sung Jae is going to be my one and done. I still have him left. He'll definitely be my international one and done in the Slider Cup. Now 9K range. I like a lot of these golfers. But I'll go with my 2 cash game cornerstones. And again, for a strategy this week in cash, I'm going with guys who make all their cuts and guys who play well here. First one's going to be Denny McCarthy. He's made, 90% of his cuts this season, something like that. And then he's, back-to-back top 10s here at this course. He was the highest priced golfer in the field last year. Sort of came through with a 6th place finish. I mean, not bad. And so I'm going to go with him. Again, I'm going to do my best to go 66, basically, is what it comes down to. And I'm not going to do the normal upside routine where I'm taking a little bit more risk on guys than I have been just for their upside. I'm going to try and just do my old school way of doing this, a Jim Furyk way of cash this week, because I don't, again, in fields like this, a lot of craziness happens. I don't feel like, there's a lot of variance when the field is this weak. And there's going to be a lot of miscuts, and I don't feel like 6-6 is going to be that large like it wasn't last week. It was under 5%. I feel like it's going to be the same this week, and I'm hoping the guys I picked this week actually make the cut, because last week, what happened was I had like 50 guys that I clipped because there's no variance. There's so small of a difference between golfers of this ilk, right? Yeah. In this type of field. Usually when I'm picking my players, I have like 35, 38, and I reduce it by 5 or 6 golfers. I eliminated like 22 golfers from my pool. And it was funny because all the ones that I eliminated did amazing. And all the ones that I kept did awful. So it was really, really bad luck when it came down to it. But for this week, we're going to go super conservative when it comes to cash. Cut makers, that's what I'm looking for. Give me Denny and give me JT Poston also down here. Again, rarely misses the cut. Back-to-back good finishes here. Once again, he's played well here in the past. So I'm going to go with JT Poston also at 9,100 for my second cash game cornerstone. I'll play Mav. I'll play Denny. Who do you like?
Yeah, I think I like a lot of these guys in this range. I think it's all going to come down to ownership again. I wouldn't be surprised if Davis Thompson starts catching some serious steam. He he's a guy that catches a lot of momentum and ownership for no reason at courses that people think he'll do well at. He has been playing very nicely lately. So he's got a lot of top 10s this week, this year, so to speak. And Mav, again, I think hopefully we can catch some, to quote Tambo, some flop lag on him. I think Maverick McNeely, suits this golf course quite nicely when it comes to all the putts you got to make. But he let us down last week pretty badly. So how many people are going to be wanting to go back to these guys? Whereas I think maybe Rye takes a bit more of that ownership up there, which will help us. But Jason Day in this field is $9,400, that's perplexing. It's intriguing. I'll go there if there's a reason to, but not overly excited about what he can provide us from a $9,400 price point.
This thing can be a putting contest. And, Day can putt sometimes. So
sometimes, so if he's unpopular and less than 10%, I'm in. I think he's, got the pedigree to take care of business. Yeah, but also hasn't really shown us much, like at the top of the board. But again, he's been playing all these designated events and that's a different kettle of fish there. So I love your post and play as well, Kenny. I think he's in good shape. And then I'll kill a Cavmere Keith just not showing up for anything again last week. If he's low owned, I'll dive back into that guy. But like we've spoken about with Jordan, you want to ride these roller coasters with as little people on as possible, because we had people throw up last week, Kenny. Freaking Alex Noren, all those big names at the top there. Keith Mitchell didn't make the cuts at like serious ownership. Jaeger, those are high-owned options that didn't make the cut. So really picking a lane, there's a lot of good options. You just got to pick your lane. Yeah, sweet.
All right, AK Reigns, again, I like a lot of guys. Nick Dunlop, probably one of my favorite plays up there. I bet him. The guy seems to play easy course as well. He has a win in his books. I think the price is very, very fair for this field and what type of golfer he is. My third cash game cornerstone is going to be Mark Hubbard. Again, he has the most cuts made on tour.
Yes.
And he plays well here. So all three of the guys that I've talked about so far are in the top 15 in course history at this event also. So there we go. So Hubbard, I'm just going to go with his 20 straight made cuts. And of course, if you want to bet him to miss the cut this week, miss the cut ever, this is probably the week. I can tell you that right now. All right. And so, but this AK Range Glover, we talked about him. He could be in my cash lineup also. Could be. Just putting it out there. Seamus Power, I know you're going to talk about him. Kevin Yu up here. Do you think he's going to get any traction? Because I really want him to be low owned, and I want to fucking roster the fuck out of him.
Yeah, he will.
That strong iron game and then really good wedge game. What do you think? I mean, I'm not an ownership guy. Do you think people are going to jump on him?
Not when he's around Luke Clanton, Nick Dunlap, Sam Stevens.
Are people really going to play Luke Clanton?
Well, Kenny, probably more. He'll be more owned than Kevin Yu maybe this week. Because I think they saw him at the top of the leaderboard last week. Kevin Yu wasn't there, but Kevin Yu, he's not a cash game guy. You play him in GPPs. That's exactly where you play Kevin Yu.
Yes.
His top 10 is so much. His top 10 rate is as close to his top 40 rate. It's almost double. You want it to be double your top 20 rate. His top 20 rate's the same as his top 10 rate. So he's just high upside, ridiculously bad floor. I think he's a definite option to kind of take a peek at. Clanton, I think people will see, he played some good golf at a birdie fest. He's going to do it again. It was a lot of putter and tons of distance off the greens there, off the driving tee boxes. Gee whiz. But Mark Hubbard, Kenny, I love that for a cash game play. Not a GPP guy. I mean, this guy's upside is ludicrous. He makes all these cuts, yet doesn't ever finish inside the top 20. Ever. Which, in the fields that he's making these cuts in, is kind of disappointing. So,
yeah,
we'll leave him alone, but hey, he's a solid, safe play.
I'm not betting him. He's in my cash lineup.
Yeah. He's just always been a disappointment. So I'm in on Kevin Yu, Nick Dunlap, and Eric Cole starting to find some shape again. So he's an option down here for me too. I think him.
If Eric Cole's going to win an event, I said that at the Travelers. I said that as an easy this. These are the type of events that I think he should win. These easier, shittier field type events. If he's ever going to win one, this could be it. I had him on my betting card initially, and then I realized I was spending too much money, so I had to eliminate somebody, and so I eliminated him.
That's not a bad move. He's like a lighter version of Cam Young. Yeah. So good.
I'm trying to keep myself at $350 tops for my betting card. So
to win what?
So that's grand? 7 units for me to win 25.
Okay. And you've got a lot of each ways in there, so the money trickles back in quite nice. Okay.
That's usually the way I go. Now, are you a Power fan? I feel like he's going to be immensely popular this week. Is the juice worth the squeeze for him this week, with the popularity probably encroaching maybe 20%?
Yeah, I don't know. You see, that's the thing. That's where it gets a little sketchy for us, but we've got him for that top 40 bet at plus 100. So if his ownership gets a little out of control, just bet that top 40 bet and call it a day, kind of hedge that way out of
Take him out of DFS. I like that.
Take him out of DFS.
He's clicked for me for now, just because it makes a lot of sense, but I think it's going to make a lot of sense for fucking everybody. Right.
Yeah.
So,
but Cole Hubbard right around him there, that's helping a bit, helping our cause a touch. But yeah, Taylor Montgomery, Jesus, we got so many guys withdrawing from this tournament. But I like Hubbard.
Well, Taylor Montgomery
and Power.
I didn't realize, and this is something you might want to pay attention to in these type of events as well, where the field is really shitty. I didn't realize he hadn't played in like months.
Yeah.
Like I didn't roster him. He was one of my last out again, which ended up being good, at least at the end. In the beginning, I was like, what the fuck? Because he was playing so well, and he shot 79 or 79 on that course. I think you could probably shoot better than 79 on that course, Byron.
In my current stage, yes, Kenny, definitely. Slapping it around there like...
Yeah. But so I didn't realize, so that's something to keep an eye on in these type of events. Like guys who have that you want to play or have like good, stuff in your model. But then you look back and they're like, oh, they haven't played twice in the last 8 months. so that's I know Tambo always wanted to keep an eye about that. And so I tend to forget about that. Oh, me forget shit. Crazy. But I tend to forget shit on occasion. So, there we go. Let's move on to the 7K range. I'll start off with, my computer just went off, my final cash game cornerstone. It's going to be Novak at $7,500. Again, I think he's made 9 of his last 11 cuts. He made both of his cuts here. Sort of a gut play for me. I just have a feeling that he's going to do well. Again, a guy who makes a ton of birdies and has good wedge game and avoids bogeys. So I like the way he looks for this type of course. So, cash game cornerstones for this week. Denny McCarthy, 9,500. JT Poston, 9,100. Mark Hubbard, 8,400. And Andrew Novak, 7,500. It leaves you I think maybe 16,000. Like 16,500 or some shit left. I don't know. It leaves you a lot of money left to do whatever the fuck you want to do with the rest of your lineup. Should be fun. So that'll be my cash game cornerstones. Other guys in this 7K range that I like, Brendan Todd down below, runner up last year, I think, or a couple of years ago. He's played well here before. Again, old people can do well on this course. This definitely is not a bomber, young man type deal. Anyone can win. He's a guy that I'm looking at down here. Adam Schenk can fall into that Cam Davis role. Somebody put out on Twitter on X when Ron Klaus forget what site he runs and follow. BetSperts. They really, really sharp guy, really, really cool guy. He put out a thing about course history, and I tweeted talking about last week. I mean, Cam's course history was unbelievable, right? But his form was so iffy that when it comes down to these type of tournaments, with these type of fields, if you can find one thing that you can ride on, just go for it, right? So Schenk is another guy who's played well at this course. His form not that great coming in, but he could be the Cam Davis of the week. So I'm going to go ahead and lock him in as well. Who do you like in this range?
So just to get back to your cash game cornerstones, you've got 15.5 left over, 7,750 per player for the other two guys. In this range, let me add a few of these dudes back in. Yeah, we're doing the sevens, right? Or we back? Yeah, we're in the sevens. Ben Griffin. I tried to bet against the blind. Didn't work out. He was the guy that ruined my round one underdog slip. All the other two guys went under their birdies. Ben Griffin, I think, beat them. I think he shot like 5 under in round one. Fresh off an eye procedure. So trying to bet these dudes, I think I bet Ludwig higher, and he also went out and crushed. So didn't quite work out for me there, but I think Doug Gim at golf courses like this, Kenny, where it's positional like point A, point B to point C type stuff. That's where you want to play some Doug Gim. Love your Andrew Novak play. Daniel Berger, I'll be rostering him. I think Tambo had him in his lineup actually for the Millie, and he kind of got off to a really slow start, but figured his stuff out. We're just waiting on that short game. If Berger's short game can show up, we're looking beautiful. And then I think Neil Shipley at $7,500. He might be popular. We'll see, but like his outlook there for sure. And then Patrick Rogers as well. He's been struggling a bit, but he plays well here as well. I think he made.
I do like Patrick Rogers.
You know, you just got to hang tight until Sunday. Don't get too excited if he's inside the top 10 in your lineups going into Sunday, because he likely will fall out of there. But maybe if he's on the other side of it, he could backdoor top 10. It's all about how the guy's week unfolds. But some other options down the bottom here, you know, I think Joel Damon's not a terrible option, Kenny. I know he struggled a bit in contention, but this golf course likely suits his game even better than the Rocket Mortgage. So I'll see what Joel Damon can get up to. And then Brendan Todd at $7,300. This golf course suits his game. He almost beat Sepp Straka here last year. So he had a 3-putt. Brendan Todd, one of the best putters on tour, 3-putted 16, I think, to kind of get himself out of contention. So that just goes to show you what these guys get up to under the pressure. But big fan of all of these dudes. Lots of names. I mean, Jake Knapp at $7,100. Jesus, the 7K range is ginormous.
Yeah, I mean, TPC Lee, good wedge game. You could go out there with him. And, Rico Hui with a random top 10 last week, right? I mean, just like fucking out of the blue. Chandler Phillips, who looks like he could be pretty good, ranked in the top 20 in my model. Good wedge game. I mean, there's plays down here. It's definitely not. I mean, I guess if a casual fan came and saw, they would be like, what the fuck? But for us, these guys are all alive. You know what I'm saying?
And Zach Johnson, if you want to find a fifth buy for you make the cut, there's a good chance he makes the cut at 7,000. I don't know what he'll do over the weekend, but I like him as a safety.
Yeah, I mean, and then we go down to the 6K range, and it gets a little bit worse. But I mean, I do like David Foreskins. I mean, like, his ball striking has been really, really good here recently. It seems like he could do something on courses like these, like the easy type courses. He was, not bad last week either. So I can go for a little foreskin magic right there for David. Top 25 in my model. Troy Merritt again. Like I talked about Troy Merritt last week. Play Troy Merritt at Birdie Fest, and what did I do? Not play Troy Merritt in a fucking Birdie Fest. He was one of those guys where it was that last cut. I literally, like all the guys I cut, like 10 of the 14 made the cut in a week where like 6 of 6 was like 3%.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, so if I literally just went the other way, it would have been an amazing fucking week. All right. I mean, that fucking sucked. I was looking back and I was like, I feel like every single one of these guys, there's like 4 guys in the top 15 or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It was just fucking horrible. Like every guy that
you need to stop doing that. It's
every guy that I pick, but I can't roster 50 people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can't. And like, it's these events where that happens, where like everybody is so tightly bunched, where the difference between like the 6,500 guy and the 7,800 guy is nothing. Right? Nothing. And so you have like all these plays. And so I was like, I probably could have maybe researched more, but I mean, I don't know. I usually do it. And it's been pretty good. Like my fade of the week this season on Gups Corner, pretty fucking money. Right. So I've been going with what I've been going with. Last week was just an aberration. Hopefully golf gods, just an aberration. Other guys in the 6K range. I mean, shit. I did not have many after those first few.
Sure. How about Callum Tarrant, who's shown a bit of flashes of form in the last little while? Here you go. Absolutely. Roger Sloan at $6,300. He's been showing up a little bit lately since kind of the old Canadian.
I got him. All right. Ryder, another guy like last week's Cam Davis, who's top, 15 in this course in course history. But form is just not there. And for cheap and probably single-digit owned. Like under 5% owned.
Yes.
Why not?
He's basically the Taylor Moore of last week. Remember we were talking about Taylor Moore not having good form, shows up, bang, all of a sudden he's fixed. But I'll probably be going back to Kelly Craft, Ben Coles. These are all guys that don't have tons and tons of distance off the tee, but at TPC Deere Run, that's fine. You got to just keep it in the fairway, get on the green, make those putts. These guys can do just that. I think both the Cootie brothers are in the mix. You know, Parker's a bit better of a ball striker, Pearson a better putter. You choose which poison you want with those Cootie twins. And then see where the guys go from there. I think it's really interesting this week. I do think some Dylan Fratelli at a golf course like this, if you're looking for like a super cheapie at $6,200, is never the worst thing, along with some Rafael Campos and Joe Highsmith. And Harry Higgs, Kenny. This, just wrapping off these guys, I'll be playing 950 lineups again this week. I think that's how I want to approach this slate. There's some of these dudes in the 6K range are going to finish inside the optimal. So the more chances you give yourself, the better.
Well, maybe a little Nicholas Lindheim, who made his first cut in like a year last week.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows with this type of field? All right. Anything else before we head out of here?
That's it, Kenny. Just all my stuff up at Rotoballer this week. I think it's going to be a great week to kind of get a little freaky, get some stuff different. I'll be doing back 9 bets again on Tuesdays at 7 Eastern tomorrow. Got live Q&A. We'll be laying off the sweet teas again, and the twisted teas. We'll just be doing a nice, calm show like we did last week, which was a lot of fun as well. So I'm looking forward to all of that with you guys.
All right. You can find I'm definitely high. You can find me on X at KendoVT. You can find my article every week on GupsCorner.com. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30% on a sub to Gups Corner. All right. Another week. We'll see how it goes. Got to be better than last week. Let's win some motherfucking money. DJ Nation.